Okay, here we are today with a 1992 Mazda B2200, and today's job is going to be to, oh, you can tell Lucas, this is Lucas's truck.
So today we're gonna try and pull off the head.
Not try to.
We're not gonna try to. We're going to pull off the head and slowly work our way back into getting everything cleaned up with all the gaskets and everything.
Okay, so what's the problem? Why are we doing this?
So anytime it gets cold outside, little bits of oil stay stuck in the pistons and things like that. So every time I fire it up in the morning, I get a big cloud of smoke, right? And seals, that's right.
Yeah, valve seals are shot. Valve seals are shot was the beginning of the whole thing, and we noticed, I sort of noticed also that there's no sticker on this timing cover that would tell when the last time the belt was ever changed. And there's how many thousand kilometers? 100,000?
310.
So 310,000 kilometers on the Mazda B2200, and that's way overdue. This belt should be changed every 100,000 kilometers or 7 years, depending on whichever comes first. So since the head's got to come off, the timing belt's got to come off, and while you're in there, you might as well do the water pump. It actually comes as one complete kit. So we're going to do timing belt, water pump, idler bearing, camshaft seal, crankshaft seal, because the camshaft seal should usually be done. And then it comes as a complete gasket kit, head gasket, exhaust manifold gasket, intake manifold gasket, all the other gaskets. And of course included in the kit are the valve seals, valve stem seals, which was the whole initial beginning of this project. Okay, so the first thing we did was just pull off the throttle cable. Did you put it back? Oh,
yeah, I just put it back so that you guys can kind of see exactly where everything's sitting. So if we kind of pull it back here and just pull the cable back, it just undoes here. Yeah. And then instead of having to do the bolts, you can just lightly and gently pull it off and just put it to the side.
Pull off this chunk of the intake there, just whip it off there.
Yeah.
A couple of, what is it, just 2 bolts and a clamp?
Yeah, just 1, 2, and then we got our little clamp right there.
And then this hose comes with it, and this other hose was in here.
And we just popped it off and then just covered it up there so no dirt or anything gets in there.
Okay. Okay, the next thing we're going to do is undo the injector harness plug here. Okay, then we pulled off this injector harness bracket, and it was right down in there with those 2 bolts, one there and one there. Okay, so we drained all the coolant out of the rad, removed the lower rad hose, removed the top rad hose. We're going to pull the rad out in the shroud next. And after that, we're going to undo this distributor cap wire, or this distributor wire here, all the way back to this bracket right here that was bolted onto the intake manifold right there, so we can take the intake manifold off. And so when we were unplugging this, undoing this bolt, we also have to undo this single wire that goes to the water temperature sender here, and then there's another plug, 2-wire connector goes to the back of the engine somewhere. I don't know where it goes, so that's included in that harness. Okay, so we got all the rad out and the rad shroud out, the fan off, fan belt off. Power steering belt over there has to come off first before the alternator belt can come off. And we're just taking the spark plugs back out so we can rotate the engine to pry a bit on this bottom pulley here because it's being a bit stubborn. The pulley itself will just slide right off, but it may take a little bit of gentle persuasion. Okay, here we are again, and we got the exhaust manifold. We got the crank pulley off. And like I said, you take the 5 bolts out.
6 bolts.
6. Yes, sorry, 6 bolts. Okay. Exhaust manifold comes off. It's just you take the shield off with four little tiny stubby bolts, and then you got what was here? 1, 2, 3, 6 bolts holding it on, and it just falls to the side. Leave it there. Intake manifold comes off with 2 bolts on the 2 extreme outer corners and 4 nuts on the inside. And then it just falls to the side, leaves you enough gap to be able to lift the head right off. Okay, so we have the timing cover off. Lucas pulled it off. We pulled it off. And we just took off the tensioner, which is this guy here. And if you spin it, you can hear that. The bearings are totally shot. So that comes with the timing belt kit. We're going to replace that. And we've got, we had all our marks. We checked all our marks. Everything is lined up. So the head's coming off, so we're not worried about that for now. So we're going to pull the timing belt off.
Slides off like so.
Just like so, and it's pretty worn out. I think it was overdue. It's probably never been done in 300,000 kilometers. And now we can go ahead and pull the head off. And then we're going to also take the water pump out down there and have it replaced also. Okay, so we're back again with the B2200, and we almost got all the head bolts out. We're ready to pull the head off. And we found a hidden bolt. The main water pump pipe runs up the side here. Where are we? Right down there. Runs up the side of the block, comes in back here, right there, and then goes behind. It's got a bolt at the very back of the head, back by the firewall here, that has to come out. Okay, so we broke the head free, and we found that there was a hidden bolt on the water pipe back here, and then also this little ground wire right here is attached from the firewall to the into the head right here. So you got to just take that little bolt out. Okay, so we got the head off and we pulled it apart. We took off took the distributor out. One bolt holds it in. We marked it before we took it out. We took the water pump housing off. It goes right on the end of the head here. And then we took off all the bolts. 2, 4, 6, 8, 10. Same sequence, outside to inside. And then when we lifted the rocker arms off, there's little, looks like automatic valve lash adjusters that come out of the ends right inside here of each rocker arm. So make sure, and I would keep them in the same sequence, put the ones back in where they came out of. And then that's the stripped down head, ready to go to the machine shop. We're just going to flip it over here and have a look at or just flip her over, let's have a look at the head gasket. Oh, look at the junk. And there's the dirty old head gasket, kind of a mess.
To be expected after 300,000.
300,000 and still going.
And still going strong.
It's Lucas's truck.
Absolutely.
He has a vested interest in doing this right.
Mm-hmm.
But I see a lot of gunk on the head gasket. But we'll clean it up. Okay, we're going to do the water pump and clean up the gasket surfaces today. There's the water pump coming off right there. And on this truck, the new one looks like, yeah, new one looks like that. It's a complete whole big plate all comes off. Lucas is doing, then you have to go, and here we have
the
Mazda B2200.
Mazda B2200. So we got the gasket, right, and that'll come and fit on there just nice like so. Bada bing, bada boom.
Yeah, see how that works out. Okay, so we got old water pump, and there's a big piece of plastic or rubber. It used to be rubber, it's sort of hard now. That's went across the top. We're going to move it over and put it on the new water pump. Like so. We're gonna silicone it on too.
Yeah, it should fit on there nice and gentle.
Yeah, Lucas says it's gonna work, so
it's gonna work.
Okay, there's the new water pump installed. We put this extra piece, this little rubber piece, back on top. We took it off the old one and put it on the new one, but I don't think it does anything in this application. I'm not sure, other than it may absorb vibration here because it bumps up against the block, and maybe this would have some vibration if it wasn't there for that bumper or something, possibly. Don't know, but anyways, that's the new water pump. It's one big plate. Okay, so we're going to take the intake manifold off. We've got one hose here.
Yeah.
Okay, we're going to take these 1, 2, 3 hoses off the front here. So that's intake top, front, intake bottom, front. That's this one, this guy here. They're probably the right length where you maybe couldn't mix them up, but I don't know, just easier this way. And then we got little vacuum pot here.
How many did you say there was? There was 7 total, right?
I think there's, yeah, that's this one. And the big long tags like this, you can see them in nice white, right? So if you miss something, you say, oh, what's this? So that's that. That's that. Now this guy, oh yeah. You got that videoed? I don't need to label that one.
Yeah.
Okay, then there was 1, 2, 3 down here. Oh, gas. Oh, that's your gas line for your injector system. That's what that is. Okay. Probably gas return. That's why there are metal lines going down, because they go to your fuel tank.
I think that's the filter, actually.
Or filter? Oh, yeah, you got an intake pump, right?
Yeah.
There's Lucas hard at work, working on his truck. Taking off the intake manifold gaskets, which were pretty much totally, completely stuck on. This is one we cleaned up, and we're going to make this one look just like that one, right, Lucas?
Absolutely.
Don't be shy. Okay, there's Lucas hard at work again, doing our next task, which is to clean up the surface of the block to get ready for the head gasket when it comes time. And the old head gasket stuck to the head, so this is just remnants of the other half of the head gasket that's stuck on the block itself. So we're trying to get as little of the head gasket material down the coolant channels. This one, this one, this one, this one, this one, this one, and so on. These other ones are just bolt holes. We can blow them out after with the compressed air and get all the crap out. Because you can reuse these head bolts, they're not torqued to yield. So we're back with the Mazda a couple days later after a weekend of boating and shenanigans on the lake.
Couple setbacks.
Couple small setbacks. What happened? Oh yeah, we changed the this bearing here. This fan
Pulley bearing.
Fan pulley bearing, it's called. I tried to press the bearing out of here. If anybody wants to know, the sequence is lock this piece, push down on this first to pop this ring off. Then there's a circlip in here, right here, that has to be snapped out with snap ring pliers. And then you can go from the bottom and you can push the main bearing that sits in here, you can push it out from the bottom up this way. That's the correct sequence to change that bearing. I didn't use that sequence and exploded the bearing, so we had to go get this part from a junkyard. And we got that one, and then the other part we had to get was... What was the other
we had
piece?
to get the nut for the...
Oh, and then when we were putting the cylinder head on, cylinder head's back on, so is the valve cover. We just finished putting the intake on. Right on this bolt right here for cylinder head bolts. There's the oil return is there, and there's the channel where all the oil goes back down into the oil pan. If you're not careful, you can lose the cylinder head bolt washer right down that gallery, and it drops down into the oil pan, and then you can't get it out. And we're going to leave it sitting in the bottom of the oil pan because it'll just live the rest of its life there. And we went to the machine shop and they gave us a new cylinder head bolt washer. So that's where we're at. We're just ready to put the intake manifold back on. And we got a new top timing cover while we were at the junkyard, because Lucas's was cracked over here and cracked over here.
Missing a bolt.
And then we had one of the ears broken off the water pump housing cover. So we got a new water thermostat housing cover while we're at the junkyard. And yeah, we're ready to carry on from here. Okay, so
as you can see,
yes, this is the new tool we had to make. That's for a Toyota, my other truck. This is for the truck we're working on today. So when you take off this crankshaft pulley down here, you're left with the crankshaft timing belt sprocket that bolts onto the crankshaft itself. And the big bolt right inside there is a big 21mm bolt. Has to be torqued down to, I couldn't find this exact spec, but it's anywhere from 90 to 120 foot-pounds of torque, so we put 105 on it. And it's impossible to stop the engine from rotating while you're doing that, or it can be. So what we did, you drill a big enough hole for the 21mm nut to fit over top, or to fit through, completely through. And then these little 6 holes would hold on that crankshaft pulley. So you put in as many of the bolts that'll fit. In our case, only 4 of them fit because our holes were a little bit off. And that holds the crankshaft from turning while you torque the middle bolt, in our case, to 105 foot-pounds. And then you take, it goes like this. Just put her in there. You would, without that pulley in the way, you would bolt that on in place of it. You would hold this, get somebody to hold this way up here, and then you could reach through the inner port with a torque wrench, and you could crank down the 21mm bolt on the inside hole, because it just spins free on it'll fit right through that big inside hole. So that's how you do that. Otherwise you'd be fighting forever and ever trying to stop the engine from rotating while you torque that up. There's Lucas hard at work. We're pre-priming the engine, or getting the oil up to the top end. So we determined that we know the engine rotates in this direction, so we're cranking it over with no spark plugs about 15 or 20 times. Just to get the oil back flowing up into the rocker arms and everything, because that was all taken apart and put in the dunk tank and completely cleaned out. So it's pretty good. I think that's probably 15 times there, right?
15 times 15 at least?
At least.
All right.
I'm going to go up for a beer. Call me back when you're done in an hour.
All right.
Okay, so we finished up. We broke the PVC valve off because it's just old plastic. So we got a temporary hose taped on there until we can buy one up. For $7 at the auto parts store, and everything else is back to the way we want it. It's got cool. We're gonna leave the rad cap off till the thermostat opens up and bubbles out some air, and full of fresh oil. Number one, we think we're pretty close on, this was number one here, right?
Mm-hmm.
Think we're pretty close, and I put a mark on here to start with. We can always adjust that. I have a timing light to do that in a bit. So you ready to fire it up?
Let's do it.
Okay, do it. Okay, yeah, so we just finished putting the cylinder head and the intake manifold, the exhaust. We just finished her all. We're going to give it the first start of the night and just see how it goes here. Ready, Lucas?
Gotcha.
Okay, and do you think it's going to start after all our hard work?
Oh, it'll start.
Because we're pros, right?
That's right.
Hang tight. Let me just check, make sure I got everything plugged in. We're going to do it with the timing cover off just for the time being here. Oh, hang on. I'm going to put let me put the bolt in just quickly here.
Okay.
Okay, I'm going to just lock the distributor. So I've lined up these marks here where it was exactly before we took it off. Just going to put the bolt in to make sure it doesn't move from there. And we think it's going to start because we think we're experts and we've done everything right. I think that's what Lucas said earlier.
We know it's gonna start.
Oh, that's what right. Okay, I'm ready if you're ready.
Ready?
Try her. Oh. Whoa. How's that sound? Beautiful. Okay. Just as we predicted, of course, flawless. High five.
Just like that.